Nobody home? Lazar, just
How are you? That's me. How are you? How are you, Johnny?
I'm good, Baruch Hashem.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yourself?
Everybody's good. Thank God.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are you gonna be? You'll be home for Yontif, or you go back to Israel after Yontif, or what?
I'll be here for Rosh Hashanah and then I'll go back after that.
Oh.
Yeah.
And you'll build a sukkah at home in Israel then, right? You gotcha. You build a sukkah in Israel?
I'll let her build the sukkah. Huh?
Who's that? Your children?
My daughter.
Oh, your daughter lives there? Oh, very nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
How long has she been living there?
Almost 3 years now.
Really? Wow.
Mm-hmm.
She likes it, huh?
They love it.
That's good. My wife has been after me. She says, "It's time to move. It's time to move."
It's time to move. It is.
Yeah. It is time to move. Yeah.
Before they run out of space.
Oh, that's true. Also, yeah. Right. Yeah. At least I have some property there in Israel. Yeah. It's not where you and I want to be, but it's
that's where mine is. It's underground bungalow.
Oh.
Mario, you're frozen.
No.
Yes, you are.
I what?
Yes.
You are frozen.
I am?
Yes. Like now it's okay.
Now you're okay.
All right.
All right, let's get the show on the road.
We're on Kafeh Omid Aleph. So how come we said if you have a tree whose branches go down to the ground, you have a limitation on Shabbos how much you can carry there? Why isn't it considered a full mechitza that you can carry wherever you want? Answers the Gemara Mishum Davi Dira Shetashmisha Lo Avir. It's a Rashi says Eina Asuya Dira Zu Ela Letzarech Avir Shechutzala. This dira is meant to keep the outside out, or lishmor asodos, because people are dwelling there, watching the fields outside of where the tree is, and therefore you wouldn't be able to carry everywhere underneath the tree, because called dira shetashmish la'avir a metatlan b'alas asayim. You have a limitation. Toshma shavas betel. You started your Shabbos on a mound. Shu gavoa asara. That's 10 tefachim up. Luhuma arba amos at base side. And the dimensions are either 4 by 4 amos until 5,000 square amos, or beneka shu amak asara luhuma arba at base side, or in a hole, like a cave, that's also 10 tefachim deep. That's either 4 by 4 or 5,000 square amos. Or you have haystacks surrounding you. Mahalach is kula. You can walk wherever you want there. And chutzla paimama, from your place of rest on Shabbos, you can walk 2,000 amos, which is a standard chum. And the problem is, even though these stalks that are surrounding you can blow in the wind. We said before, if a mechitza can blow in the wind, it shouldn't act as a halachic mechitza to allow you to carry there. More says, you tied it all up. If you tied it up, and they're growing together in a tied fashion, so the wind cannot disperse it, and therefore that's why it acts like a full mechitza. Mishnah. Shluchei mitzvah p'tur min hasukah. Rashi says, holchin b'derech mitzvah, a person who's on the way to do a mitzvah. Kikon lilmod Torah, lahagbil pnei rabo, to receive his Rebbe, lifto shvuyim, to do pinyon shvuyim. So you're potter from sukkah. Choylin umishmash meyan, sick person and the people taking care of the sick person, is p'tur min hasukah, are also potter min hasukah. Oichlin v'shoysen aroi, chutz l'sukkah. You want to eat a temporary snack or drink temporarily. You know, you're not kovei suda, so you can do that outside of the sukkah.
Would that make a difference? Would that make a difference if it's a deraisa rabban, the mitzvah that you're doing now is a rabban, and then let's say sukkah's deraisa, you still don't have to be. You still don't have to do that. You can put you from doing the deraisa mitzvah. Would that make a chilek?
Lahagbil pnei raboi, I don't believe is a mitzvah deraisa. So if you're going to do a mitzvah, I don't think there's a distinction between deraisa and rabbanon.
Okay.
Miran Emili. Where do you know this from? Diton Rabbanon. It says by Kriya Shema, B'shivtecha b'veisecha, Prat lo'oisek b'mitzvah, to exclude a case where you're performing another mitzvah. Then you're potter from Kriya Shema. It doesn't just pertain to the mitzvah of sukkah. It pertains to any mitzvah. Ha'oisek b'mitzvah, potter b'mitzvah. Uv'lechtecha v'derech, prat l'chosen. A chosen who's about to get married, he's potter from Kriya Shema. Mikan amru akoines is apsula potter. If the chosen is going to be is marrying a psula, he's potter. But the salmana chayiv, if he's going to marry an almana, and the difference is he's not tarud b'mitzvah. Tarud b'mitzvah means he's worried and he's occupied in doing the mitzvah. By an almana, you're not, because she's already has already had relations. It says Torah b'machshava be'ilah. Now the Gemara wants to know my mashma. Where do you see from the words b'shivtecha b'veisecha, u'v'lechtecha v'derech? Where do we see this din? Ravuna kaderech, like going out on the road. Ma derech reshus. When you travel, you're going for business, you're going for pleasure. It's not a chiyuv. I've called reshus, implying when you do Kriya Shema, you have to do Kriya Shema. You have to stop and do Kriya Shema if you're doing something that's not a chiyuv. Lafuke haide b'mitzvah asuk. But a person who's occupied doing a mitzvah, you don't have to stop. It's not kaderech. So the Gemara wants to know, what do you mean? Milo askinan de kozol bar mitzvah v'gam rachmana likri. Maybe b'shiftach, that means u'lechtecha v'derech also means even the person is traveling to do a dvar mitzvah, but still the Torah is telling you to read it. Im krein lemakra b'sheves u'v'leches. The pasuk would have just said b'sheves when you sit or when you travel, any kind of travel. The words my b'shivtecha v'lechtecha, it's When you're traveling for your own purposes, you have to stop and read Kriyat Shema. Habalechas the mitzvah ptiras. But if you're traveling to perform a mitzvah, you're potter. Well, says the Gemara, so then you're doing a mitzvah when a chassan marries an almana too. Why is an almana different than a psula? So here comes the punchline. Koines is a psula, torid. He's getting married to a psula, so he's has machshavas, worries. Maybe she won't be a psula. That's a big worry. And maybe his mind is not free and clear to read Kriyat Shema properly. Koines almana lo torid. But he doesn't have that worry when he's marrying an almana. She's not a psula.
This applies also to a divorcee, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Frag the Gemara, kol heicha de Torah chanami de potter. So comes out you're saying that if somebody has a lot on his mind, he's potter. Elamiyata tovas finosu bayam de Torah chanami de potter. A person is a businessman, and his schoira is arriving by boat, and he hears that his boat with the schoira has sunk. Well, that guy's going to be out of his mind too. So are you telling me that such a person who is tarud b'machshava is going to be potter? Maybe you'll tell me v'chitei mochanami. Maybe you'll say, yeah. Guy like that's potter from Kriyat Shema. V'amar Rav Abba bar Zavda Marav Ovel Chai v'chol hamitzvos amos b'Torah chutz b'nat tefillin sheri nemar ben peher. A person who has lost a relative and he has to bury. So like an onem, he's Chai v'chol hamitzvos, but not an onem, but somebody who's in avelis. He's Chai v'chol hamitzvos except for tefillin. Because by tefillin it says pe'er, a certain kind of beauty. And during an avelis, you don't wear pe'er. But an avel is also tarud in mitzvahs, that he's going to have to bury the person. So hacha the Torah tir the mitzvah. When we say a chassan is Torah, he's Torah in performing a mitzvah. Chassan Torah tir the rishus. But a boat that is sinking is not a tirda that relates to a mitzvah. It's a tirda that relates to a personal issue. So that's the nafkamina why it's only if you have daigis and you only have worries regarding a mitzvah that you're potter, but worries, personal worries. Now, Rashi says by avelis, she'aval b'shu chayv l'nhog avelis, shel ne'ilah, you have to take off your shoes, rechitza v'sicha la'aros kvad meso, eino chayv litztayer. There's no chiyuv of being mitztayer. So it's also considered, if you're going to be mitztayer, a tirda de rishus. Okay, so we've established the principle of ha'oisik b'mitzvah poter b'mitzvah. And it seems that the Gemara has learned it out from b'shivtecha b'veisecha. So ask the Gemara of ha'oisik b'mitzvah poter b'mitzvah me'hacha nafka. Is it true that you learn that concept from b'shivtecha b'veisecha? I'll show you me'hasam nafka. It's learned from somewhere else. The Tanya. the Parsha of Pesach Sheni, that people came who were Tameh, and they said, we want to do the Korban Pesach as well. So the Gemara asks, Oistem Anochim Mihayu. Who were those people that were Tameh? So, no say Arona Shel Yosef Hayu did Rabbi Yosef Aglili. So we know that they took the coffin of Yosef with them when they left Mitzrayim. So the people who carried that Aron were Tameh. So they were the ones who came to request the dispensation of Pesach Sheni. Rabbi Kiva Omer Mishrael vel Tzofan Ayushei Oiskim b'Nadav Avihu. No, it was Mishrael vel Tzofan, who were the cousins of Nadav Avihu. And they were the ones who dragged Nadav Avihu out of the Kodesh Kadoshim. And so they were Tameh because of that. Rav Yitzchak Omer im Noisei Aron Shel Yosef Hayu. So Rav Yitzchak says, they can't be the Noisei Aron Shel Yosef. Kvar Hayu Cholim L'Toyer. I mean, they could have 7 days before Pesach separated from the Aron, counted 7 days, had Para Aduma, and they wouldn't have been Tameh anymore. They could have planned it. And in Mishrael vel Tzofan Hayu Cholim Hayu L'Toyer as well. Nadav Avihu died Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Pesach is Yud Daled Nisan. So they could have planned and been mitaher prior to Pesach. So rather, the reason why they had a right for Pesach Sheni is not because of Tumah. Ela oiskim b'mei mitzvah hayu. We're talking about a third type of person. There were people who came across a dead body and they had to bury it, a meis mitzvah. And it worked out, shachal shvi shelen lios be'erev Pesach. It just so happened that there's the 7th day from when they had to bury the meis mitzvah landed on Yud Daled Nisan. Shnei Amar, because the pasuk says, "Lo yachlu lasos haPesach bayom hahu." The emphasis on bayom hahu. Bayom hahu ain't yicholim lasos. Alam achar yicholim lasos. It was just that day that they couldn't do it because it was the 7th day. The next day, which was if it would have been the 8th day, they would have been able to do it. So the Gemara wants to say, since they were oisik b'mitzvah, that's why they were potter from the mitzvah of Pesach. So we now have 2 psukim, b'chora, b'shivtecha b'veisecha, and this parsha of Pesach Sheni to teach me this same din. Why? And for the Gemara tzricha. I need it. I need both. If I would have only learned it from the din of Tamei Meisim, Mishum de Lomot Zman Chiyuv of the Pesach. You know what? There's no Chiyuv of Pesach yet. When they did the mitzvah 7 days ago, so there was a chal of a chiyuv of that mitzvah. It wasn't like competing chiyuvim. Aval hacha the matazman kriyashma. But now for the chosim, this time of kriyashma is coming. So there's already a chiyuv for the mitzvah. Maybe aim low. Maybe the chosim would not be potter. And vice versa, the yashmina hacha, if we've only been told it din by kriyashma, mishum deleka kores. Kriyashma is a mitzvah saseh. If you don't do the mitzvah saseh of kriyashma, you're mevatel naseh. Aval hasam by the korban pesach, the ikka kores. That aseh, if you're mevatel the aseh, you get kores. Aim alo. Maybe I would not say that I'm potter from the mitzvah because by not doing the mitzvah I get kores. The Gemara have to tell me yes. Even so, I'm potter from doing it tzricha. Now, certainly the din is, if I can do both, if it's a kind of thing where I could do both, you do both. It's only if the performance of one mitzvah is going to affect how you perform the other mitzvah, then you have the din of potter b'mitzvah. Gufa. Armavav Barzav Damarav. Ovel Chai B'chol Mitzvah Amuris Patur Chutz Mitfilin. And Ovel is Chayv in all mitzvahs except for tefillin. Sharei Omar Bahen Pe'er. Mida Omar Le Rachmana Li Cheskel Pe'er Chachavu Shalecha. You Yecheskel need to continue wearing your tefillin, even though Yecheskel was novel there. He was mitzvah not to be misabel on the death of his wife, like other people. So he had to continue wearing his tefillin. Atu de mechayvus, aval kol alma ptiri. Everybody else would be potter in tefillin. Anami lebiyom rishon. But that's only the first day when he's potter from tefillin. D'chsiv achrisa kiyomar. The first day of the Avelis is the bitterest day. The bitterest day of Avelis is the first day, it's one day. But after that, he would be chayv in tefillin. The Omer Rav Abba Rav Zavda Rav Ovel chayv b'sukkah. And Ovel is chayv in sukkah. So the Gemara says, Pshita, you just told me he's chayv in kol ha-mitzvahs. Why do you have to emphasize sukkah? About the same oil, Rav Abba Rav Mitztayer, potter in a sukkah. Starts raining on sukkahs. You have no chiyuv. You're mitztayer. It's uncomfortable for you. So you're potter from sitting in the sukkah. So maybe I would think there's no greater tsar or a mitztayer than an ovel. Hainami mitztaru. Kamash v'lon animili sa'ara demimela. A tsar that comes from the outside, like raining on you when you're sitting in the sukkah, that's when you're potter. He, the ovel, it comes from internal. He's mitzar himself. He needs to have yishuv hadas in order to be makayim the mitzvahs appropriately. Amar Rav Abba bar Zavda Amarav. Chosin v'ashushbinim v'chol bnei achulpa p'tur min hasukkah kol shiva. The chosin and his groomsmen and anyone who participates in the chuppah are potter from the sukkah all 7 days of the party that you have to throw for the chosin, the Sheva Yemei Mishta of the Sheva Brachos. My timer. Why is this? Mishum deboy lemechti. Because they have to be involved in simcha. Straight to Gemara, v'lechlu b'sukkah, v'lechtu b'sukkah. I mean, they're supposed to have a big feast. So let them have the feast in the sukkah. Let them be happy in the sukkah. Gemara says, "Ein simcha lebechuppa." The simcha is, there's no simcha except with the chuppah. So as the Gemara, v'lechlu b'sukkah, v'lechtu b'chuppah. Fine, let them eat in the sukkah, let them be happy in the chuppah. So, ein simcha el b'makom suda. The simcha is b'makom suda, where you eat. You got to eat in the sukkah. So fine, says the Gemara, lev the chuppah b'sukkah. So put the chuppah in the sukkah. So a buyer army can't do that. Mishum yichud. If they made the sukkah, chuppah in the sukkah, there might be a time where the kala is bichidus, has yichud with a strange man who's in the sukkah, and they'll violate the isra yichud. So you can't put the chuppah in the sukkah. Rava Amar, mishum tsar chosin. the sukkah is not closed from all sides. It could be open on one side. Therefore, the chassan himself will not be able to be miyached with his kala. The whole idea of a chuppah is to be a solitary place where the chassan and kala to be miyached with each other. Well, then, might be now, what's really the difference between Abaye who said mishum yichud and Rava who said mishum tzar chassan l'chora? It seems like it's the same problem. So it could be nayu, the nafkamina could be the shchichi inshi the nafki va'ayda lahasa, that there are people who are coming in and out of the sukkah. L'manda mishum yichud leka. So the one who said it was going to be a problem because maybe a strange man will be miyachid with the kala, that could be a problem. Leka, because people coming in and out, it'll avoid yichud. But l'manda mishum tzar chassan eka. But because people are coming in and out, the chassan's not going to have an opportunity to be alone with his kala, and the tzar chassan will exist. So that's the nafkamina between the sheet of Abaye and Rava as to why you don't put the chuppah in the sukkah. Now, in our day, the Eliyahu Rabbah and the other poskim say we should follow the Rosh and the Meiri that a chassan should be Makayim mitzvah sukkah. So we don't have the p'tur. If a chassan gets married before sukkahs, there's no p'tur from sitting in the sukkah. Bizman hazeh. Rav Zera ano achli b'sukkah v'chadi b'chuppah. Rav Zera says, I ate in the sukkah. I had simcha in the chuppah. The kol shekin the chadi liboy. It caused me even greater simcha in my heart. The ka'avidna tarti. Because I was able to fulfill both mitzvahs. Chassan and his groomsmen are potter from davening, from tefillin, but chayavin b'kriyas shema. Mario, I'm going to continue to Daf Chavav.
Okay, hold on.
Because that's today's